Israel right now, they're gathering to observe a solemn anniversary. It's been 2 years since the devastating Hamas terror attack that killed more than 1,200 people in Israel and led to the war that has consumed the region. Israelis have come back to the site of the Nova Music Party, the scene of much of the carnage. Hundreds of innocent concert goers were killed. Dozens were taken hostage.
Yeah, and that's a live look that we're looking at right now. It's about 3 p.m. right now in Israel, and you're seeing residents in this moment commemorating 2 years, which I think for so many people is a sombering moment, of course, but also the idea that 2 years have passed and really reflecting on what this day means. Now, throughout Israel, there are solemn memorials, just like what we're seeing right now. 250 people were taken hostage in that attack in this area. 48 still missing to this day. In response, Israel launched a counteroffensive against Hamas, as we all know. The United Nations and human rights groups estimate more than 67,000 Palestinians have been killed in the fighting of the last 2 years.
There is hope for an end to the war, with informal peace talks resuming yesterday in Egypt between Israel and Hamas at the urging of President Trump. Our foreign correspondent, Amy Kellogg, joins us with more on that. Good morning to you. How close or closer to peace are we on this 2-year anniversary?
Well, it's the closest we've come. Excuse me. It's the closest we've come in these 2 years. So people are very hopeful. All sides except Hamas, and I say all sides, meaning the Gulf Arabs, who are a big part of this initiative, and Egypt, Israel, all on board. Hamas, though, is still a little bit up in the air in terms of what they're willing to agree to. And as we know, Hamas is not exactly the easiest negotiating partner, if it can be considered a partner at all.
Amy, you were telling us about the challenge. Even if they agree to peace, the challenges for Hamas of returning or even locating the 48 hostages, 20 of whom are still believed to be alive, from Gaza, because they may not know anymore where some bodies are buried. So can they deliver on this?
It just sends chills up your spine to think of those bodies lying in the rubble as part of a treasure hunt at this point, because how do you get to them? But look, I think there's a lot at stake here. I think it can be done. I mean, no one has suggested that it can't be done, Allison. But I'm thinking today about those hostages who have been freed and how they are still working on their rehabilitation, to have been in tunnels, in cages, having to beg for a glass of water, being mocked. A lot of them are doing quite well, but I think we don't know really how all of them are getting back to their lives.
Well, of course, war is chaos, right? And information can be hard to garner. I do want to talk about the experience of the hostages. What do we know about what it has been like for them over the last 2 years, knowing there are still individuals in captivity right at this moment? What do we know about their experiences? What are we hearing?
There's some survivor's guilt for sure. There are certainly flashbacks. There is the shock when you are released to find that the loved one whose memory was keeping you going, the dream to see that mother, that sister, that dog in some cases, gone, murdered. So look, the road back is hard, but let's not forget about also the 67,000 dead Palestinians, many of whom had nothing to do with any of this. And the families who are mourning their graves today talk about perhaps graves being under the rubble. So it is a very solemn day, but it is a day of hope.
Why do we think this moment is different? We've had optimism time and time and time again. Why are we in different territory now?
It's a tipping point with 67,000 dead Palestinians and Israelis now clearly in the majority demanding this. There was also the factor of the Gulf Arab support, which was starting to wane. I mean, it's important for the greater region that this issue get resolved. And now that it's looking quite close, that there are peace deals We had the Abraham Accords in Trump's first term, which were the deals with some Gulf Arab countries like Bahrain and the UAE, peace deals, which opens up commerce. It certainly, I mean, if that region could be as one, how powerful they would be. If you could include Iran, I mean, just say that the cards all fell into place, that the pieces all fell into place.
Right.
Imagine what a block that could be with energy, with technology. So, the incentive is really there. But it's difficult because there is a lot of fear and mistrust. And I think this war, I think October 7th has made even many previously peace-loving Israelis question whether they can live side by side with the Palestinian state.
Yeah.
Amy, on a day like this, of course, we look forward to praying for peace, praying that something takes root. But we also look back on this 2-year anniversary about how something of this enormity could have happened in Israel, some place that is, renowned for its security. Have there been answers of how this attack was able to be perpetrated so successfully?
There was a lot of reliance on technology. We talk about the famous Iron Dome system. I think Israel probably came to rely a lot on its technology and let the ball drop in terms of on human intelligence. We did hear that some female soldiers working at the border with Gaza had raised concerns that something was being planned and no one had listened. But I do think that at the end of the day, we're waiting for answers. And, there are people who suggest that Israel, and particularly Netanyahu, let Hamas fester so that the Palestinians were divided.
I'm so glad that Allison asked that question because the news cycle moves quickly, life moves quickly. But to look back, how did this happen? What can we learn? What was going on in that moment? I want to circle back to what you were saying right before then, though. I think we're all wondering, is peace actually possible? That's the question. I've never allowed myself to imagine what it would look like if this was a united bloc, as you said, the absolute power there. Can you speak more to that? I've never really thought about that in a deep way, and I think you're so spot on.
Well, look, I've spent time in Iran as a reporter, and I've always got the sense that the Iranian people actually have a lot of respect for the Jewish people and would like to be able to be working together with them. I've spent time also in Gaza and in Israel and always been treated with incredible respect, both by Palestinians in Gaza, who frankly always treated me like a princess when I came down there with plates of baklava and the works. And my Israeli colleagues have been among the best I've ever worked with. So I've seen sort of the best sides of each of these groups, if you will. And I think there's so much talent and so much initiative and energy that if they could pool their resources, Israel is renowned for its technology. The Arabs are sitting on the resources. But look, that is a bit of a pipe dream. However, Trump keeps hinting at it. So who knows? I mean, Iran is on the edge. The whole region has changed a lot in the last 2 years.
And public sentiment is turning a bit against Benjamin Netanyahu, and that perhaps gives Donald Trump leverage. And to your suggestion, he is Trump driving, pushing, some say bullying Benjamin Netanyahu. Talk more about that and how starkly that contrasts the situation between Trump and Putin to end the war in Ukraine.
Dave, I keep thinking about that. Could similar pressure be applied to Putin? Is there a lack of will there? Does Putin have something on Trump that we're still waiting to learn about? I mean, we see this. If this works out, we will see Trump's bullying at its best.
Yes.
And most effective. But again, Israel has a lot to lose by alienating the United States. So it's a different dynamic. However, pressure is mounting in Israel against Netanyahu. It was mounting before this war, right? When we saw those big protests when he was trying to reform the judiciary. And my earpiece just fell out. So if Allison asked me a question, clue me in.
Allison, I'll take this one since our friend, or actually, Allison, why don't you ask it and I'll relay?
Okay, basically that she talked about how 67,000 Palestinians have been killed. It's a shocking number. Does Hamas care? about that? I mean, Amy was saying that this is a tipping
Yes.
point, that maybe this time it will stick, and maybe Hamas would stick to whatever tenets of a
Yep.
peace agreement they agree to. Do they care that 67,000 Palestinians? Why did they let it get to this number, if so?
Okay, so Allison was asking, we're saying this might be a tipping point because we've lost 67,000 Palestinian lives. The question, does Hamas care about those 67,000 lives? We know the Palestinian people do. We know the world scene is watching this. Does Hamas care? Can we have faith in that?
It's hard to imagine that they do, given we know what we know. We know that they've been using their population as human shields. And we know that they are about their revolutionary fight, which is denying Israel's right to exist. What I think is interesting, in their statement today, they said that they felt basically thrown under the bus by the other Arabs. So I don't think that Hamas can point to any victories here. And it's really hard to get a sense that they care about people. It seems that they've been using them to make them into martyrs. To what cause? I don't know, because Israel is there to stay and they need to find a modality to live together.
Which begs the question, what incentivizes them to finally end hostilities? It remains to be seen. If they don't care about loss of life, why would they end this conflict? We shall see. Amy Kellogg, so great to have you here.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. Allison?
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have Amy's reporting, which we've relied on for more than 2 decades, I would say. Amy, thank you for being in the diner. All right.